All right, let's talk some hockey. John Snowden's journey through professional hockey has taken him across countless locker rooms, leagues, cities, but it's ultimately brought him back to the Lehigh Valley. He joins us today to discuss the stops, the setbacks, the lessons from his journey from an undrafted player to AHL head coach. John Snowden, welcome to the show today.
All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me.
It's exciting to get to talk to you. Jeff had seen you a little while back at one of the drafts, and he told me
Different sport. It was they got a soccer team now, or football as they call it.
Yes.
you're all out there in the community doing great stuff together, supporting, and your story was fascinating. It's like, let's get you on and talk about it because you entered in the U.S. National Development Program as a teenager and then won the 2003 Clark Cup. What was that experience like as now it comes full circle here?
Yeah, it was obviously for myself at coming from Seattle, a non-traditional hockey market. At that point, not a whole lot of players have really gone. I mean, players have gone on to do things, but I mean, that was probably one of the bigger, like the national team was only that was the second year of the program when I went there. So pretty fortunate to make that team, got to play there for 2 years, got to learn a lot of life lessons about living on my own and getting myself up for school on time. And people aren't going to do that for you. You know, your parents aren't there to pick it up for you. So essentially, I mean, when I left that, I've never gone back. I mean, I've gone back in the summers to see family, but I've never lived there again. So and then went to Lincoln. I was supposed to go to college. I was had a full scholarship to Michigan Tech, and I wasn't the greatest student, so I wasn't able to clear the clearinghouse to play that year, which was fascinating to me because I got into Michigan Tech, which was one of the harder schools to get in, and but I couldn't get in to play hockey that year. So I went to Lincoln in the USHL. I could have probably I was drafted in the Western League by Seattle, and I probably could have went to Seattle and played there instead of trying to go to college at that time. Obviously, the rules were much different than they are now, but went there and had three really, really, really awesome years. Probably some of my favorite years as a hockey player. We were an exceptionally good team. We lost in the finals one year. We won a Clark Cup. We won an Anderson Cup for the regular season trophy. We did a lot of winning there. We played some really good players like David Backus, who played for St. Louis and a couple other teams. Ryan Patolny, I don't know if you guys remember that name, Ryan Patolny. He
Hmm.
played at the Flyers for a little bit as well. So we had a really good team and won a championship. And from there, I went on and tried to play the pro game for 13 years, 12, 13 years, and played at the AA level for most of it, some American League games. So it's been quite a ride, and then here we are now coaching.
It seems to me, excuse me, more than any other sport, hockey kids start younger and younger.
Yeah.
And being in developmental leagues is
Hmm.
more important than almost every other sport because of the habits you have to develop as a
Yeah.
young hockey player. How important are these developmental leagues and making sure that everybody has access to them?
Well, I think it's crucial for our sport. It's one of those sports that like baseball, soccer, football, like you can go play in your backyard. You can, I mean, yes, can you go shoot pucks in your garage or go shoot pucks down in your basement? You can do that and you stick handle. You can do all those little things, but you have to have ice to really do the fine tuning of your game. And so I mean, I'm going through it right now with my boys. I've got a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old. They're very good players, and just how chaotic and crazy the development life is, and trying to get themselves ready to hopefully for them to play junior one day, and then for them to move on to college, and eventually one day maybe I get to see them, at the American League level or wherever it may be where I'm coaching at that time. But I think you see now with the coaches as well is the coaches' minds are, especially at the minor league levels, when we're not talking about and I think the NHL level, you're starting to see those coaches come in that have been in the minor leagues and have had to do a ton of development and be really creative with how they roll out the development package inside of a really heavy season. And the junior leagues are really focused on development as well. So I think it's been the turn in our sport for sure. Is how do we really fine tune our players to be able to play hopefully one day at the National Hockey League level or in general, just for me, especially for the youth kids, is how do we teach them hockey? But at the end of the day, like what are the life skills that we can give them inside of this game? What types of things connect the dots with them of like, here's something that happens in hockey, but this is something that's going to happen to you in life. And you got to learn how to deal with those situations. And, as our players get to us, there's the media, there's social media, there's the ups and downs, the ebbs and the flows, poor seasons, great seasons, how do you respond, and all those things. I think there's development moments in everything, and no matter where you go. And our sport is one of those sports that it's very important.
You couldn't make up your journey if you tried. I mean, you look at it, Texas, Greenville, Reading, Idaho, Germany, not the traditional path. What did continually adapting to new coaches and systems and locker rooms teach you about people?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely teaches you how to be way more understanding of everybody's personalities, habits, things that irritate them or things that they really like. I did play for a lot of teams. That was not by design. I did not want to play for all those teams. It was some of the, especially when you get to the AA level, there's a lot of instability at time when it comes to, ownership. And some of those teams that I played for, we'd play for them, and at the end of the season, we're just like, the owners aren't going to do it anymore, so we got to go play somewhere else. And those are a couple of situations I fell into in my career. But the one thing that I did a lot of once I got deeper into my career, and I recognized that hockey's not going to be, so I'm not going to play in the NHL. Like, there is a moment in everybody's career where you're just not going to get there. So what do you want to do with it? The biggest thing for me is I just love the game. I just love the game. I love to play. I love to be around the rink. I love to be around the players. I love to be around my teammates. I love the camaraderie with it. I love the competition when you step into the building, no matter what it is you're doing. If you're on the ice or off the ice or in the gym, you're just always competing. That you see someone that's stronger than you in the gym, you want to get to that. So you're always chasing something. If you have that type of mindset, which I think every player that gets to the highest levels do. But for me, I recognize probably when I was probably about 26, 27. I wasn't going to play in the NHL. So, but I wanted to get there. And for me, I thought coaching could be an opportunity that maybe one day that I could achieve those types of things. So I spent a lot of time over the end of my career. The latter parts of it is just really listening to messages the coaches say. So I kept a book with me, like just a small notebook. I kept it with me in my stall, and I would write down, I love that message. Or maybe I did not like the message. I thought it was, a message that just kind of fell on deaf ears, or it wasn't the right time for the message. I like this practice plan. I like this practice. I like this drill. Maybe I'd switch it and do something a little bit differently. So I just kept a book of everything that I liked, everything I didn't like, coaches and the things that they did that I liked and maybe I didn't like. And I tried to, take the best of the best qualities of each person and then also some negative qualities that maybe I felt that, for myself, I didn't like, and then I started to kind of form what I thought I could be as a hockey coach and what would best fit me. Because I think one of the biggest things as a coach is you have to be true to yourself. The minute you start to try to be someone else and use someone else's verbiage or present yourself in a way that is not you, I think players are too smart nowadays and they're going to see right through you. And so that was kind of, I wanted to take all the good things and things that I didn't like and kind of mold myself into what I believe would make me a good coach with the type of personality I have and how I could be impactful on the players that, hopefully one day I get to speak in front of like I'm doing now.
The guys that you are coaching, you coached last year, the guys that you're going to coach this year, that you do see a level of competitiveness out of them. We get to see that in Philadelphia now. We get to see the fruits of your labors. What's it like for you to see these guys go up to the NHL, succeed, and use the lessons that you've taught them?
Well, I think, it was a very gratifying year for our staff in general when it comes to just transitioning players from here to the NHL. I think, you get the Barkeys, you get the bumps. Emil Andre started with us, and then he finally got to stick, and he never came back. Even a Carl Grundstrom that was, he was an established NHL hockey player, but kind of lost his game when he was in San Jose towards the end there. He was in and out of the lineup. He didn't really have an identity for what he was anymore, but we brought him in here and Danny, when they made that trade, I had known Carl, like not personally, but I had known Carl as a hockey player from my time in Toronto. So I got to speak with Sheldon Keefe, like, what is he like? What kind of a person is he? Another assistant there, AJ McLean, is one of my good friends. Just talking like, how was Carl the coach? And then once I got to know him, like, he was incredible. So to see us be able to help him get his game back to being a pretty impactful player when he went up as in the depth role for the Flyers was awesome. Ty Murchison, I don't think anybody had Ty Murchison on the radar last year of going up and playing games and being as impactful as he was. So, that's another player that we got to see transition and do some really good things this year. I mean, Bonk got up, McDonald got up, and had some really good moments. And the thought now is to see them, make that next step and help our development process and program of everything that we want to do as a staff and as an organization to really see them transition and be impactful like we saw with some of those players this year. So it was, I know we talked about it as a staff. We were extremely excited. We were super happy to see these guys have the success and reach those NHL dreams that every kid grows up wanting to do. But now it's for us, and that's what we've been going through lately is how are we going to make it better? It was good last year, but that's last year. There's a lot of kinks that we wanted to change. There's a whole new development program, and we want to just keep evolving what that looks like. And we had some really good meetings and have some really good ideas to just take the next step with all our players.
How bummed are you that you missed out on having Porter Mortone come down to you?
He's exactly where he needs to be. So it's great.
There you go. I got to ask you as a coach, as a player, you had lots of difficult conversations with your coaches as you were chasing your dreams. As a coach now, you have to have those tough conversations too. You get players who have always been the top player for their team. They've always been told how great they are. How hard is it to have some of those difficult conversations with talented young players who have always been the best, but just aren't quite ready for the NHL yet, where you're trying to get them there?
Yeah, I mean, it is a challenging thing at times. And, when you're a player, and I played for a long time at a level where I was always trying to get to the highest level, and I just never quite could get there. And I was the one on the other receiving end of those conversations of like, you're not quite ready, you're not quite ready, you're not quite ready, you got to do these things. So there is challenges at times, but I think the biggest thing as a coach is just being honest, like just being completely transparent and honest and not trying to put any sugar on top of like what that development path is going to look like for that player. At the end of the day, to your point, is every kid that we're getting they are the best players. They've been the best players at some point in their career. And more than likely, if you're going to get to the American Hockey League, you're playing your last years of college or junior, wherever that may be, you are going to be one of the top guys. Now it's our job is to make them understand, well, yes, you had 100 points last year. Well, you're not going to get those situations that you have been used to getting, but here's how we can make you a really impactful player. This is what our vision is for you to be a player that's going to be impactful at the NHL level and where you kind of slot into what your game is. And then us to show them how we can get them there. And this is what's going to get you in the door. And once you get in the door, how do you close the door and never let anybody open it again? And once you get in that door, how do you keep evolving your game? And so it doesn't mean that you can go and players, when we have these conversations, doesn't mean you go into the Flyers and you're probably going to be a fourth line guy. But how do you become an exceptionally good fourth line player or a bottom six pair D or a backup goaltender, whatever that may be for you? How do you become incredibly impactful in that moment, in that situation, and then grow your game to maybe move up the lineup? Sometimes you just need a chip in a chair to get into those spaces. And once you get into those spaces, what are you doing every single day to prepare yourself to get to the next level? And for our players, a lot of times, and we had some conversations this year with players of, let's say we play Wilkes-Barre, and Wilkes-Barre was a very good hockey team last year. We all saw that. They won a lot of hockey games. They had a ton of talent. Our team struggled with them last year. They had a lot of NHL players, Dumbas, Graves, we had Dan Heinen early in the season. Like they had some good hockey players there. And, so a conversation that I had with a player was, okay, you want to play in the NHL every single day. Okay. Well, every single player that we just played against tonight, and you had a tough game, they are not playing in the NHL. So you have to be above every single one of those players to be able to make it to the NHL and play and be an impactful player in the NHL level, because those guys aren't there. And if you had a hard time tonight, it's going to be even harder once you step into the NHL. So here's the little steps that we need to do, that you need to make sure you hit every single game to give yourself the best opportunity to be an impactful player at the NHL. And then just make them understand what those moments are, show them those moments. And then at the end of the day, they have to believe it, and at the end of the day, it comes on them. We have to give the message. They have to believe what we're telling them.
How do you do it in a way where you establish accountability, where they can take chances but know the consequences if they don't work out, but also at the same time creating a locker room where players aren't afraid to make mistakes because they are still learning and growing?
100%. And that was a big conversation that we had before the season last year, is just, Danny talks about it a lot, and you can hear it and see it around the rooms of just like safe as death. And that's a big thing that Danny talks about all the time. And, the one thing that we wanted to do, with our players last year, and we'll do again this year, is we want to empower them to take chances, make the plays that we're asking them to make. And then if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But then we need to teach on the other side of it is we need to teach them, I don't care about the mistake. Like in reality, obviously we all care about winning and all that, but our job is to develop players. So you turned a puck over in bad ice. Okay. What of these two situations, you either made a bad decision or you didn't execute the play? Which one is it? So if it's a bad decision, now our job is to teach you through the decisions. Okay. Time to space, time to score, wherever it is, numbers in the situation. Okay, tell them what those situations are, and then make them understand, okay, in this situation, it's a 1-on-3, you're at the end of a shift, you're at the end of a period, we have a lead. This is not the time to try to beat someone or try to take someone on. It's an opportunity to put the puck in, set the guys up behind you, we'll get them on your next opportunity. Or you had the right speed, you had the right spacing, you have to turn the corner. And this is how it would look if you need to turn a corner on someone, or you need to make a play through someone. Instead of making this play, maybe we can go into a different space. And just teaching them those situations, but empowering them. Okay, didn't work, but the next time you get this opportunity, do it again, but just make the play. Or do it again and do it in a different way. And just just making sure that they don't feel handcuffed, where some players, we're going to ask them to try and take risks, and that's their game. High-end offensive players take some risks. And then there's going to be some depth guys where maybe it's going to look differently. Maybe it's not with the puck, it's without the puck. Your stick was in the wrong spot. You ended up letting him getting underneath you in the D zone, whatever it may be. And we just got to teach. But make them understand that decision in that moment is not going to affect you going back on the ice. Now, if you make that decision 5 or 6 times in a game and you're not listening to us trying to correct it, then that's when we have that accountability factor of, hey, we can control your ice. And if you don't want to listen to the things that we're telling you, especially because you want to play in the NHL, when you get to there, you make those mistakes over and over again, you're just going to end up with me. And we don't want that. We want you to stick there. So just continuously empowering them to make the plays and those mistakes, and then teaching them through those mistakes, because the game is imperfect. It is not a perfect game. If everybody played perfect, to me, the score would be 0-0 and it'd be boring as hell. And it's not that. That's why hockey is such a fun sport. It's fast, it's unpredictable, and you're always countering off of mistakes of the other team.
Well, it was 0-0 and wasn't boring as hell in the playoffs.
That's fair point.
You talked about closing the door behind you, that once you make it to the NHL, you want to close that door. But the reality of the situation is there's a lot of movement back and forth.
Yeah.
You talked about like what your psychology is as to how you deal with these players. But one of the hardest things is a player that does go up, does get that taste, and then gets sent down. Often not even because it was something they did wrong, but because maybe somebody got healthy. How do you deal with players that come back down and make sure that their head is in the right place?
Yeah, I think it's a real thing. And I think you could go even further and saying, when a player gets called up, and maybe a player that you have on your team thinks that that's his opportunity to get called up, right? So there's a lot of those moments where guys are going to be unhappy, or they're not in the right mental mind space and those types of things. So, and for me, I always think about it as in like, okay, you were up in the NHL, you had some good moments, so we'll grab some video of when they were up in the NHL, show them the really good things that they did, show them a couple things that maybe was going to be a factor of why they're not able to stay if it's not a numbers situation and or a roster situation. So show them what those could look like. But really, it's just once they come back down, let's throw them right back into the fire. Put them right back into important situations. Make them feel important again, and make them understand that you were there, you got a taste, it was great. What do we have to do to really shore up our game and be in that right mental mindset of just trying to grab traction every day to get back to where you want to go? But you can't do that if you come down here and you're in a space of negativity, or you're feeling poor me, or you feel like you're not getting the best side of it and you deserve more than you're getting. At the end of the day, that none of that matters. You can't control any of that. What you can control is your attitude and your effort. Well, if your attitude's right and your effort's right, and we put you in all the situations to throw you right back into the fire, being an incredibly important player for us, it should all start to grab that traction again, and we'll just kind of fix those things along the way and keep hammering those things along the way that might be hindering you from playing there every single day, but empowering the things that got you there.
Well, we're less than 2 months away from opening day in Lehigh Valley. What
Mm-hmm.
we know what a coach, what a player has to do in the off
Mm-hmm.
season. What does a coach like you do in the off season to prepare? It's got to be a grind, even though you're not at the rink all the time.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is. I think for any coach, when you're coaching at the professional level, it's demanding, right? It's time consuming, it's demanding. You don't sleep. You're always worried about the next thing. You're always worried about the next message. You're always worried about making sure this player's okay, that player's okay. So it takes a lot out of you. So I think at the end of every season, it's important for one to get away from it and spend time with your family, or and then in that time reflect on all the little things that, one, look at yourself first. What things did you like that you did this year? What things did you not like that you need to change and do better? Ask questions from the staff, ask questions from the players, so then you have a better plan as to what you can do as a person to get better in the situation or in the spot that you're in. But then as a staff now, we give everybody time, but we start to pick away little projects. So, like we met yesterday as a staff and we laid out our entire season. So between my coaching staff, Riley Armstrong with the player development side of things, our training staff, our equipment staff, how is our season going to look? How do we want to lay this out? How are we going to travel? Where are we going to travel? This week we have a block. We have 5 days of ice. How are we going to lay that out for practice, development, making sure we're hitting everything that? So we laid out our whole schedule, and now we move into the next part. So, Terrence Wallen and Nick Schultz have been doing their own projects on their special teams, penalty kill, power play, grabbing things that they like that we did this year, watching other teams that were successful in certain areas and what they did, and maybe how we could take some things for them, because at the end of the day, that's coaching, is stealing from other people and making it your own. And then starting to put together our 5-on-5 game myself, like what areas of the game were we analytically well. So we have our analytical reports for our season ending stuff, go through the analytics. We're really good in these areas, very poor in these areas. Okay, we're not going to blow everything up. We just need to teach these areas better, and then start to pull video of maybe this team was really good off the rush, or this team was a very good forecheck team that created offense off the forecheck. What do they do? How does that look? What can we make? How can we take something inside of that and put it inside of our system, not changing it much? Maybe it's just a little tweak inside of it that will help us get better. And so those are the projects that we'll do. And then obviously watch video on the new players that are coming in, and who we could potentially have here, and kind of start to understand their game, where they could slot into our lineup, where we're going to best be able to use them and give ourselves as a team the best chance to be successful. But also, what are we going to do for this player developmentally? How are we going to make him better? And in turn, if we make players better, it's going to make our team better at the end of the day. So, those are all little things I could go on for a long time about what it looks like in the off season, but it's all about, trying to fine tune your vision, your project, your systems, your messaging, your theme for the season, wherever it may be. It's just always trying to improve those situations. And then we'll have our meetings with Talk. We have the meetings with our Flyer staff coming up next week, and listening to what changes they're making that we'll have to make inside of our systems, so we can keep things parallel in certain ways. So when the transitions and the call-ups happen, that it's not a tough transition for them and playing totally different systems, which I think was a very beneficial thing for our players this year. So there's going to be a laundry list of things, and we're starting to get close, because we're, I think, what are we, a month away from the rookie games, and then all of a sudden it's boom, boom, boom. And with a short training camp for everybody this year, before you know it, it's going to be done, and we're going to be playing hockey games.
Before we ask you about what players we should look out for, I just wanted to ask you, which part of John Snowden, the player, is most visible in John Snowden, the coach?
I think, it's something that I'm working through as well, is just control, like my emotions. Like, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I'm an incredibly passionate person. Like I love the game of hockey. I love being a player. I love coaching even more. But when I'm in a game, I am 100%, 150% in the game. And as a coach, you have to really manage your emotions inside of a game because your emotions are going to affect the players' emotions, right? And there are times that maybe it's you don't like the way the refs call in the game, or maybe you don't like the way the team's playing, or whatever it may be. Like you have to really be mindful of how you portray your emotions onto the team to make sure that we stay at a level mindset level, even keel on the bench where we're not too high, not too low, and not giving the team any kind of info on if we're liking where we're at in the game or we're not liking where we're at in the game, and just kind of staying tunnel vision, straight focused ahead. So those are like I'm a very passionate person. I play the game passionately. I coach the game passionately. It's just because I just love it so much that it kind of sometimes it's hard to control those situations. So that's something that I'm working through, but that's who I am. I prepare very hard. I care about everything that comes out of my mouth. I care about everything that goes in front of our players. I care about the words that we use when we talk to our players and how impactful those can be, and also making sure that everybody understands what we're saying because there's so many language barriers with the Russians, we got Czechs, we got Swedes, we got Finns, we got French speaking Canadians, and there's so many things that you have to think about. It's just making sure that everything that we do and everything that I touch and everything that I put in front of our team, our staff, it's like meticulously thought out and makes total sense as to why we're doing each thing.
So with players from all these countries, have you learned all these languages yet?
No, God, no. I try. You try to pick up things here and there. For me, I always try to pick up like how do you say good morning in another language. So maybe I can just say even if it's as simple as saying good morning like I could say good morning to the French guys. I'm learning some other ones just to say good morning to them. I think I don't know if it goes a long way or it doesn't, but it's something that I think is at least you care a little bit about where they come from.
So I know they're all your children, and you love them all equally. But who are the players that you're most excited, or that we should be excited to be watching this year when we come up to Allentown?
Yeah, I mean, I think we got a lot. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's no favorites by any means, but I think we should be excited to see what Cole Knuble can do this year. He's a very exciting player to me. He just does everything right. His competitiveness is off the charts. Incredibly intelligent hockey player. He came up for a short time with us last year, and he was incredibly impactful in that time. I want to see Ty Murchison come back from his injury and see how he's going to look. He was very good before he got hurt, and can he continue to traject like he was doing? Bonk, let's see what steps he makes. It was a tough season for him last year because he started the season behind when he had to miss training camp and essentially the beginning of the season, and then how good he did at preparing himself to be ready to play when he was ready to play, and then being impactful and continuing to grow his game throughout the season. I think we should be excited about Jet Luchenko. I'm excited about him and really seeing if we can squeeze all that offense out of him and get that confidence on his offensive side of things, because he, without the puck, he's incredibly responsible. We all know he can skate. That's not a secret to anybody, even at the NHL level with his short time that he had there. But how can we squeeze the offense out of him and really get his confidence up in those areas? So I think we have a lot of exciting players this year that I think everybody should be excited to see what types of things that they're going to do. But those are just a couple guys to name. I could go further than that, but I think those are some players that are going to be new and some players that have been here before, and really see what their summers look like.
You played for the Reading Royals. You coached for the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Talk about the passion of the Lehigh Valley area.
Ah, it's unbelievable. My wife and I, and we have 3 kids, and we've never really bought anywhere we've gone because we just, this business is so volatile. Like, as a coach, you get hired to get fired eventually. Hopefully for myself, that's not for a long time, but we've been talking now, and we're looking what we want to buy, just because we just love the area. It's the people are incredible. Where we live is incredible. The kids hockey has been really, really good. My youngest boy plays for the Lehigh Valley Phantoms youth, the AAA team here, 2014 team. And then my oldest is actually in Hershey because they don't have a AAA team here. So he plays for the Palmyra Black Knights. So I get to see a whole nother side of the state and be around the people over there. And, the fan base here is, as you guys well know, it's just so passionate about their team. And, they're hardworking people. They care deeply about, wins and losses and care deeply about the players as well, in the organization as a whole. And so it's, that's why, when we step on the ice as a team every single night, we want to make sure that we, play a brand of hockey that kind of emulates the place that we live in the Allentown area, of just some incredibly good people and incredibly hardworking people. And that's what we want with our team. We want impactful players in the community, and we want impactful players that give it 110% every time they step on the ice.
Well, we can't wait till we come out and see it ourselves and experience the passion. And we hope to get to talk to you throughout the season as the players develop.
Yeah, that'd be great. It's exciting times this year. Very exciting. Some new faces, some old faces, some really good things ahead of us. Some good stories that we'll see, I hope.
Thanks so much for the time, Coach. We wish you the best of luck with it all.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.